Okay. I kind of want to get into some being a female sports fan type of stuff. So I want to know, has anyone ever asked you a trivia question or in some way required you to prove your fandom?
Yes. I think everyone can say yes.
Please,
Yep.
please explain.
I feel like it happens like more frequently than I like to say, especially in the job that I have. But I remember I was in Cancun 3 years ago, and someone was just like talking all this trash to me about Husker football, and then he was like, "Good luck against Oklahoma," and I'm like, "Bro, we're not even in the Big 12 conference anymore." So, like, that's what makes me the most mad is when, like, people are trying to quiz you, but just because I don't know one thing doesn't mean I don't know 10 more things than you do. Don't mean that in a mean way, but, I hate that, so don't do that.
And I don't know. So I don't think I've ever gotten a trivia question or like that kind of question. But to kind of piggyback off that, I have been in situations where I've gotten like one thing wrong, like I mispronounce a name or I get a position wrong. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, you really? It's like, I'm sorry, some of these things just aren't important to me. Like they're not important enough for me to like stick into my brain because I'll just Google, like I'll look it up if I don't know it, and that's fine. But just because I don't know who was our third string DB in 07, why would I know? Like, why is that important? Why would I need to know that off the top of my head? And why does that prove or disprove if I'm a sports fan? And nobody ever has an answer when you ask that question. It turns out
If it helps, Abby, we get stuff wrong all the time on this show. We need like a full-time fact checker.
Well, and I feel like for me, I'm not even like claiming to know stuff sometimes. It's like all of a sudden I just feel like sometimes you just do get a little cornered. But for me, since I live in Iowa, I feel like it's less of like being a girl and more of like simply being a Nebraska fan. And like, I feel like two things that like automatically like just I get attacked with are like Scott Frost and just like the obvious accusations that just come with him being the head coach. And then B, one that I didn't think that I'd get as much of is like the attendance and just that. And I'm like, I don't even want to get into that. That is a whole other thing. But yeah, like for me, and I'm pretty sure every single person on here is 10 times better at Husker trivia than me, like knows up and down everything more about Nebraska football than me. However, like that's not why I'm a Nebraska fan either. Like I'm a Nebraska fan because of like I guess to circle back with like what you said, Megan, about like what's your favorite Husker experience. For me, like honestly, one of them was the Buffalo game because that was my first game in Memorial after COVID. And like I'm not kidding you, like there were so many days like during like 2020 where I'm like, you know what? All that I can look forward to right now is Husker football. And like as cheesy and cliche as that is. But yeah, I feel like for me, it's less of like trivia and more of like you're like the one Husker, not the one. There are lots of Husker. There are more Husker fans in Iowa than I expected. But yeah, it's more of just that than being a girl. Yeah. But there are elements of being a girl too.
Yeah, I just think like the gatekeeping thing is so weird to me because it's like, what other hobby could you have where somebody's like, oh, you like to cook? Are you a chef? Can you make this, and this? And it's like, why does it matter? If I like to cook, I like to cook. If I like sports, I like sports. I don't have to know every G-dang thing about it. God, I censored myself so good.
I'm so proud of you.
That was very good.
So good.
You've got this
is a family show.
I know.
You've got the live streaming down.
Right? Yeah.
There's a good chance my grandma's on this also.
Hi, Maddie's grandma.
There's a good chance Matt's parents are watching right now too. So we need to make sure Mike and Marty Honky are not yelling at anyone for swearing. So
well, Marty Honky would be yelling, and that's one of my people that growing up. Mom was a huge influence on me, and my grandma was a huge influence on me with Husker football, and so yeah, they'd be screaming right now if they're watching this.
I'm kind of with you, Maddie, as far as like the lifestyle of just loving Husker football is what I love most. Like, I know some facts and I know some games and stuff, but dates always get away from me and all of that stuff. But I love being a Husker fan. Like, and I guess I don't have to prove it because I kind of prove it before people asking questions. I've got the Cornhusker license plate in Montana. I was really pumped that I could get that when I moved here. I had a, Husker garter for my wedding and ran into a Husker guy out there at the lake, like on the way to the altar, and stuff like that. And so mostly I just get teased for being the Husker fan, and people like to kind of poke me a little bit about the whole, you guys and your coaches and all of that stuff. But I love it so much I can't hide it. So then pretty much they just are okay with it.
Amy, has the N for knowledge joke made its way to Montana?
I haven't heard it, but that doesn't mean it's not here.
It is a brand new and original, never heard before joke.
It is,
Sarah's number one favorite too.
It's so creative. I've never heard it, and every time it throws me off. It's so good.
I know.
The only time I don't get mad when I hear the N for knowledge joke is, so I work in a cancer center, and it's always like the 80-year-old like men that like to throw that out there, because I like slip in that I'm a Husker fan at any given opportunity. Yeah. And they always they love the N for knowledge one.
That's how old the joke is.
I know. It is. They created it, Maddie. That's why they love it. They made it up. It is funny though, because it's like you realize this is a joke about how you can't read. Like, I don't,
right?
I literally don't understand it. But, okay. Okay, what else do I have? Any other comments, questions, concerns? Rob, do we have any comments we need to address?
I mean, so we keep Husker Kara. I'm assuming she knows somebody there because this is her first time joining. So Husker Kara, first of all, welcome to the Go Big Redcast and watching us live. Thank you for being here. It means the world to us, and I wouldn't lie about something like that. And her lately, she said, lately it seems I spend more time defending Husker fandom, period, than being a female fan. I don't like either. GBR forever. So
love it.
So I would say that outside of our fan base, like Iowa fans, Oklahoma fans, yes, it's being a Husker fan. Inside our fan base, we get at least Abby and I have gotten. I don't know everybody, but Abby and I have talked about it a lot. Guys who are like, you just like them because you think Scott Frost is hot. Well, yeah, but also I've been a Husker fan long before Scott Frost put a red uniform on. So we get a lot of it more from inside the house, it seems like lately, and it happens all the time.
I would agree. So hopefully these are quick. Two things. One, absolutely the last thing to tell a Husker fan is you only want Nebraska to succeed. You only like Scott Frost. Sorry, this is a family show, because you are one of the girls he is sleeping with, right? Which is like the most disgusting rumor that anybody could start. And it always gets started about young head coaches. And it's just, let me tell you right now, it's a disgusting rumor. So stop. It's not funny. It's not a joke. Knock it off. If anybody who's listening hopefully doesn't make it, but it's not funny. So don't ever say that to anyone, but especially like to fans where we're like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm older. I'm old enough to have been around before Scott Frost. So it's not Scott Frost
right.
Like, makes me do it. And we all know about our buddy who like said all these things and then called into a radio show and was like, bragging about, I said that she's one of Scott Frost's mistresses. And it's like, why are you bragging? First of all, stop. Like, that will get me riled up. And it comes in turn. There are Husker fans who do that. And it's like, what are you guys doing? You cannot tear us apart. Like, everybody else wants to get on us. We can't tear each other apart, and don't make it that.
Yeah, and Abby, to your
very after school special.
and Abby, to your point there too, those rumors, whether it was Frost or if it was, we've had coaches in the past, those rumors that you're right, that it's time and time again. And I will just say in today's world, if you don't have a camera phone picture to show me a rumor, I don't believe it anymore because everything out there, they couldn't keep our military uniform secret for 3 hours that walking down Havelock. I don't know how in the world these other, rumors that everyone knows about, never get out. But
yes,
I'll take a step back again.
No. I
that was great.
It very much was like, sorry, I just like knew that was probably going to come up, and I just every time I'm just like, oh my god, I just want to like fight somebody for it. But the other is that
small town Hemingford, so all those like sleeping with rumors and stuff, I got all of those. I'm protected against those from high
so
school.
lucky.
So.
You're so
we had to build up armor early.
But then the other is that, yeah, definitely, I think Sarah hit it, is that a lot of this a lot of the like, you have to prove your Nebraska fandom as a girl comes in from internally. I've made friends with people from other fandoms who are amazing, and never once have they been like, oh, you're a girl, tell me about football, because they're like, we love football, we love it. But it has always been my interactions with other Husker fans, and it bums me out so much, where it's either they don't take me seriously, they don't take my opinion or my question seriously, or it's just because you think Scott Frost is hot. And it's like, okay, well, there's a little bit more to like women and what they like about sports than just the head coach of one sport. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
In my defense, I think Scott Frost is hot. Okay, so I mean,
who doesn't?
If you have eyeballs, you probably do.
At one point, I told my wife, I was like, if the rumors are true, I'm going to hit him up. All right, I'll be off mic now.
That's probably good timing. Yeah, no, I like it, and I think it's important to talk about that. I think, a lot of the reason why we feel that there's like the infighting and the Husker fan versus Husker fan meme, right? Like that we all love. It's just everyone's frustrated. Everybody wants to win. Like everybody gets along when we're teaming up against PJ Fleck, right? Everybody's friends when we're fighting Iowa. Like it's only, I love it.
I'm sorry, Meg.
Did you hear he did come out and say, hey, I had eye surgery because of a bungee cord?
Yes.
Like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
This is a great comment. I love it.
Yeah, it says I love seeing Abby roast people on Twitter when they ask where the offensive line commitments are at. And for the record, see Kevin Williams Jr. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, but I agree. I think, like I've already said it, and I'm sorry, I'm just repeating myself. But I think that's the part that like makes this whole thing worse. Like I feel like all sportswomen have at some point had to like prove it. But when it's coming internally, it's like, guys, why? Even if, like, let's say the only reason that I'm supporting Nebraska football is for Scott Frost, who cares? I'm still supporting Nebraska football. Why are you turning people away from supporting us?
Yeah.
It makes
strange.
No sense.
It's strange. Like I said, it's seriously the only like thing I'm sure there's other like things, hobbies and things that people are into that are like this, that kind of feel like someone is gatekeeping it, right? And you have to say the right things and do the right things in order to be part of it. And it's like, that's not what any of this is about. It's just silly. My next question is,
what about you, Meg? You're just being the question asker.
I know, I like it. It's kind of fun. I've never had this much power before, so I'm like, answer me this. No, what? I don't know.
Well, I have a question for Kai. What's it like doing Poppin' Kernels with Meg and the two of you together? How has it been doing the show together?
It's been good. I miss it a lot. This is my first time seeing Meg since I moved, so I think we learned a lot. It was kind of just flying by the seat of our pants, learning how to do it and produce it. But I will say a lot of people like I've had past players DM me like trying to explain a take or like tell me my take is wrong, and that's what I don't understand either. Like when people just personally message you, like just if you have something nice to say it. If you don't, I think especially in the past 4 months running Golden Knights social media has just like changed my mind on so many things. Like with the podcast, I was so picky about things and I would edit things forever. And now the next time we do a podcast, I'm putting it out in 30 minutes after we're done because I don't care. But it was a lot of fun doing it, and I really hope that we can find the time to do it going forward because I think we could make it something special, and I'm glad that I've had Meg to do it with me.
It's been really fun. I love it. It started out as like a school project for Kylie, and she messaged me on Twitter and was just like, "Hey, would you want to do something like this?" And I was like, "I have never done something like this, and yes, I would." And I love it.
Yeah, raise your hand if you work for ESPN and you're on this call. There you go.
You're gassing me up. I don't know what to say.
I'm like, I'm just gonna leave. I'm irrelevant now.
But
I watch ESPN.
Yeah, right. Same.
That counts, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And similar to what I think on the opposite end of like some of the bad things that have happened, not a fan of, but these are some of the great things that happen when you are a girl who's into sports is you meet other women who are into sports and you get to do really cool collab like this. Yeah, you get to do things like this. You get to be like Meg and Kylie, where you get a podcast. You get to be like Sarah and I, where we get to kind of run this like female friendly fan page. It's a really nice way to say it, and maybe focus and turn focus on other women in sports and our female athletes. So I think there's a lot obviously of like tension and frustration that comes with it, but there's a lot of really good stuff that comes from being a vocal female fan, and it's meeting other awesome female fans. And I don't want this to turn into like man bashing because that's not what it is. There's a lot of really cool like male fans who don't do these things and do support us and are, will stand up for us and be like, not cool. They know what they're talking about. Yeah, all right, fine, Rob. And so like even that, so I find that that's the good that comes with a lot of that bad is you do start finding that support from other places and you start making friends with other Husker fans. And again, fans of other teams who are just like, we love that Husker fans are huge fans and they know everything about football and college sports. And even if they don't, they talk about it with such passion that I think make us a lot of fun to talk to. So be nice to us.
Can I just add in, and I know I promised I wasn't going to talk, but Abby just said some stuff there that like hit home with me too, because, I'm a big supporter of, we'll just say strong women. My wife is a very intelligent woman. She's a strong woman. She's worked her way, up through masters, has this great job. And it's like, she's outside of like my mom and dad, like she's my hero. So, and not to be too soft about it, but my wife is amazing. Honky's met her, he knows. And she's definitely my better half. And it's funny because it's like, I talk about people that I interact with on Twitter and people that I've met before. And I'm always talking about women, and not once does she ever flinch at me and be like, oh, you're talking to this woman, and I told her I was doing this show tonight, and she really was. She was just like, well, it's about time. That's really cool, and so, I appreciate what you guys all bring to the table, because quite frankly, a lot of the takes that I hear from like the male side of things with Husker fandom often gets really boring and is no longer, it just sounds like the same stuff over and over again. And it's really just become trolling, where it feels like a lot of the better content that's out there that isn't like, the journalists, but like just basically personal fan opinions usually comes from the women that I interact with on Twitter. And I mean that. So I think that's one of the big reasons that Honky and I talked about doing something like this in the past and trying to get people on. And one of these days, Aaron Sorensen, if you're ever listening, I would love to talk to you a little bit too. So
Queen.
I have been trying to get her to come on and do an interview for a while, and I hope that it gets back to her that I said that here tonight.
This was so cool. I love that.
I kept and we're with the Hail Varsity, or we're with Herdat Network, which owns Hail Varsity. And to Rob's point there, we've talked about having Erin on a number of times. We kind of play a little bit of phone tag back and forth, but she's doing something here with Nebraska Public Media, upcoming Title IX project. And so she was talking with Holly Rowe there, and it was just a neat little tweet that they had there. And, we've talked about with Aaron, we've had Mike Babcock on from Hail Varsity. We just had Brandon Vogel on, who is related to Amy, because it's a very small world, right?
It's very small.
I'm trying to get Greg Smith on, and we're going to talk some recruiting. I want to get Aaron on too, but here's the challenge. I don't want Aaron to come on to talk gender stuff. I want to talk with her because she's a really good sports writer who, probably along with maybe Nicole Griffith from 1011, when she's covering the football team, and when she covers them, she's probably stepping into a room where she's, if not the only, just one of the only women in it. And there's a part of me where it's like, I don't want to bring her on the show unless that's the point of the show, but I don't want to bring her on the show to let's talk football, and then let's end up not talking football. And Meg, the first time we had you on a year ago, and I remember I wanted to make a very quick reference. Hey, you're the first woman that we've had on, then let's move on. Let's talk football. And I mean, I went overboard. I think I was going out of my way to let's keep it to we're talking to you like you're a fan, no different than any of the other fans, Chaz and SoCal and HUSK guys and all the other ones that we've had on. And so that was kind of the point there. And I the same way I feel about, if we would have Aaron or someone else, on the show for journalistic purposes.
See, and I love that. Like, there are a lot of things in my life where I am the one woman in the room, or one of few. I've always worked in tech, and that's a real male heavy industry. And right now I work in a company that does like hunting and off-roading, and those are pretty male centric things too. And it's nice to be just taken as, one of the people in the room, not necessarily have to focus on gender so much. And it doesn't, like I said, I grew up with a lot of guys, so it has never bothered me too much. And a lot of my friends are guys. So it's kind of just nice to not have to, I like what we're doing here because we have a real supportive community of women, but I also like it when my gender isn't called into question. And like we're talking about, being challenged that you know what you're talking about because you're a woman. Well, of course you do. You got the same brain as anybody else. Then you probably have some interesting perspectives that nobody else has.
Well, and I was going to say too, I mean, I follow every single person on here, not because they're a girl, but because I like their Twitter and I like their content and I like what they what they say. And I think they're funny. And and like, it just stinks to think that like that can be discredited because of their gender. But yeah, I wasn't like,
that's something I get a lot, Kylie, to answer your question from earlier, is like, you have that many followers because you're blonde and cute and whatever. And it's like,
it's because you're funny.
And it's like, yeah, the cute thing, that's an illusion.
Here's the perfect segue, because you're funny.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. This was
awesome.
This is just damn good. Like every Husker fan wishes they wrote this.
Yes.
And for, I guess, the podcast listeners tomorrow that can't see this, it's a tweet, and Meg, you explain it.
Okay, so there was a few of these going around, and this one says, if I didn't know anything about Nebraska football, here's what I think each coach did for a living. And I kind of did the offense and the defense, sort of split them up in that way, and just said, like, it has a picture of each of them, and it says, if Scott Frost wasn't the head coach of Nebraska football, I think he could be a pharmacist. I think that Mark Whipple could be a personal injury lawyer. Like, he totally looks like one of those guys on those commercials, they're like, if you've been seriously harmed in an accident, please call 1-800, I'll get you money, or, and Chenander as a homicide detective is the most believable thing ever.
I don't know what you're talking about. I want Becton to call me and ask me about my extended warranty.
Yeah,
I'd probably buy one.
And Duval being the corrections officer is just perfect with that haircut that he has.
That one was a
Oh
given.
my god.
I'd probably like stop being sober just to buy drugs from Scott Frost. So
I don't know how to follow that up. All right.
I don't really know where we go from there.
That's as good as it gets.
This you guys just basically like embodied my entire college life trying to talk to women, just for the record.
Oh.
The awkward silence. Is that what you're referring to, Rob?
Yeah.
Even a polite chuckle. That's the best. Nobody was just like,
No, not a single chuckle. It just got really quiet and awkward, and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go now. You guys have a great night. Cheers."
Cheers. Is everybody going to the spring game?
Yes.
No.
Sarah's
No.
not. Amy's not. Kylie's far away.
I'm going to a VGK hockey game.
Yay. How are they doing?
Well, we've won 5 straight, but it's going to be a dogfight to the playoffs. We have 12 games left. We're in a wild card spot right now, but every game counts. And if they miss the playoffs the first year I work for them, I'm going to be very upset.
But like a month ago or so, you didn't even think they'd make it, right? So they've been doing a lot better recently.
Yeah, but we have a lot of injuries, so that's the thing. We have 8 active guys on our roster are hurt, so it's just been a revolving door. But we play tomorrow, so
Okay, well, cheer for you.
You're gonna get a whole new fan base just of Huskers watching.
Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
Can I
fun
just
fact-
interject? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, it's fine. But a fun fact is we used to be like the football team in 1907 or something. Don't get mad at me for being wrong, but they were the Golden Knights. So you can be a Husker fan and a Golden Knights fan.
I thought that was so great when I found out that's who you were doing promotions for, because I thought, well, she's still a Husker.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, that right there is a perfect example, though, of like that is like hockey knowledge beyond anything that I have, and 90% of the men that I know do not know that. And you just like spit. I was like searching through the standings, like where are they at right now? Oh, they're 1 point over the Stars in the final wild card spot. But like, see, and that right there is like this. The entire point of the show is that like those are things that like you know, and I was just like, okay, cool. Like, wow, I don't know anything about what's going on. I'm a Sharks fan, and they suck this year, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
We hate the Sharks.
See, you're a perfect Knights fan. Yes, you hate the Sharks. I was in Vegas when the Knights made the finals and lost to who was it? The Capitals. I was actually in Vegas that night, passing through on my way to LA. We just stayed the night there, and my wife and I were walking down the street, and I look over, and the Capitals bus is like parked, and Ovechkin is getting off the bus carrying the trophy itself, and I was just like, that is like the most like wow. And what's funny is her and I, we left our phones at the hotel room because we were like, let's just go for a walk, like unplugged from everything for a little bit, so I couldn't record it. But I'm like walking by the Oriental Hotel, and there's like the Stanley Cup just like literally like 15 feet away from me. I didn't even mean to be there, and so yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to bring up how they lost the Stanley Cup.
I was at the game and saw them lose the cup, so I was inside the arena close to you, but I just can't wait for if we win the Stanley Cup, the parade will be the best parade of all time in any sports going down the strip. So hopefully it's this year.
I think I need to fully indoctrinate myself into Vegas Knights fandom just so I can experience that parade.
Yes.
Okay, we'll start working on that.
Okay.
That's another podcast.
I was
can get everyone.
I was in St. Louis when we won the Stanley Cup, and it was it was fun. I'm not a hockey fan, so I don't know, but we went down for it, and it was amazing. Like it was so cool again to be in an environment where somebody won something. We're like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's a blast. Like it's a disaster, but in like the best way possible. So
Yeah.
I hope that for you, so you get to experience
Thank
it,
you.
especially as like a fan and working for them. I very much hope you get to experience that.
Okay,
Thanks.
Piggybacking on the hockey train, my dad's Canadian, so he's actually from Vancouver. So I grew up watching the Canucks. Kind of haven't at all been following them at all lately, but that's sort of what sparked my like love and like interest in sports. I feel like is like that was probably one of the youngest like memories that I have of watching sports is like watching hockey with my dad. So I love that. Kylie, I fully support you though. I'm like,
Thank you.
I have no alliance to the Canucks.
We just beat the Canucks on Sunday, and that's who we play tomorrow. So
I know.
Oh.
So I'm like, do I bring this up again? Everything that I brought up, I'm like, should I say this?
I know, of course.
I have
Isn't
a
that being a
question.
woman in Husker fandom anyway? Is like, should I say this?
Right. I'm like, I feel like that's just always like a subconscious thought that I have.
No more having
I know. It was
Always
a
just say it,
subconscious thought
guys.
that I had. Yeah.
Say
What's
it.
the worst that happens? They block you? Who cares?
Yeah.
Now, I have a question. I think Abby, you were mentioning, about the hockey team that was winning, and like, and it's fun to watch a winning team. I can speak for the Redcast, and I know what it's like to start a podcast in April of 2017, and we've had 5 glorious seasons of football and basketball, during that time where it's just been loss after loss, and we feel beat down. Okay, all right, you are fans, no different than us. How have the last 5 years been? Just the losses. How has that affected your fandoms? And this you can be better fans. I'll make the argument that we're better fans today than we were 30 years ago when we were winning all the time. To keep showing up and having 60,000 people in Memorial Stadium for a spring game, it's pretty impressive. But I mean, what have the last 5 years done to you collectively, as fans? I'll start with Meg.
So I think how do I want to say this? I don't let it affect me anymore, right? To me now, and I've always kind of been like this, but especially after the last 6-7 years, I'm always going to be a Husker fan. So win, lose, whatever happened on any given day doesn't really affect how I'm going to go about living my life or reacting to these things, or I'm not going to get all bent out of shape about anything. It's not worth it to me. I support the university. I support the players, the coaches, whoever they may be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sports are dumb. I hate them.
And sports are dumb. I hate them.
It was nice timing, Rob.
Yeah, I think so. For me, like that, all our dark times really kicked off when I was in, I mean, probably college, maybe a little bit at the end of high school. I don't know, whenever 01 was. And so it's been really
They
fun.
were still good then.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but I wasn't in
I
wasn't in high school in 01, so we're not going to talk about that. But I think what's been really fun for me is I'm a lot like Meg, of just like it hasn't affected. I'm still here. Like, I don't know, has my skin gotten a little thicker? Sure. But how much I have found it to be kind of a blessing to have essentially like matured as a human being, as a person who just gets older in life and turns 30 and whatever, to mature during bad times, because it's made it so much easier. I think if I were like 21 right now and it was just like, I wouldn't know. I don't think I would know how to handle it very well. But I think like being older and having like lived through it and lived through real life things that are significantly more important, no offense, than a football game has helped me just been like, yeah, we lost. It sucks. Give me an hour. I'll get over, give me an hour. We'll move on to the next one. That's what I think it's done. So I think, would it have been great to be an Alabama fan all this time? Sure, that everybody likes to win. But I think that like you said, there's a lot of good that comes from adversity and learning how to kind of let things go and figure out what's important and how to deal with embarrassing defeats sometimes.
Yeah, well, one of our favorite follows is Message Board Geniuses, and Meg, I know you've talked with them before. And Message Board Geniuses, they highlight every single fan base across the country. Alabama football, Kansas basketball. The last couple of weeks, Kansas basketball fans on Message Board saying "fire self" right in the middle of the game, and then they turn around and they win the game. So the fan bases, whether you're winning or losing, they still end up being crazy. And I just think that the telling tale of a fan base is when you're at your worst, on the field, on the court, if you're still showing up. And that's what makes me so proud to be a Husker fan. Amy's the only one on this call that knew me back in the college days. And I was an obnoxious Husker fan because I was entitled. We won all the time. And I mean, I'd tell you, you would not have liked me probably because I would tell you how good we were. And I'm on your side. I'm a Husker fan with you. And I was obnoxious. And have I been humbled the last 20 years? Sure. But I feel like we're better fans now. I'm more excited to go to games now and take my son to the game this weekend, to the spring game. And I tear up seeing 70,000 people there on a Saturday in the fall when Michigan just won the Big Ten and they had a couple thousand there, if that. And people can say it's because we have nothing to do here. And I'll just say bullshit. It's because people care and they travel from all over the country and they have Montana plates that say Husker on them because they care. They care. It doesn't matter where they live. They just really care. And I think Husker fans, if you are a Husker fan now, you've gone through it and and it brings us all together. And look at this group. With this group, would you think this group would be a big group hug? Big group hug.
Oh.
I mean, would you think this
I'm
is
not a hugger. Like I'm not really like
that a lot.
There are kisses.
I just did like a
That's not true, Meg, because when I met you last
Rob,
year,
I was like
hugged
13
Meg.
beers
in the
deep.
Illinois game, you hugged me. all
Yeah,
right?
Rob, different
You
Meg after
I
hugged
walked
that.
up and you
Yeah.
were like, "Hi!" And you
That
gave me a
doesn't
big old
count.
hug. So I
I
don't want to hear it.
think I'm still hungover from that game last year.
I'm
Oh,
still
no.
sunburned from that game. So
Yeah, it was so hot. And that's the thing because we started early, drank so much beer, and it was so hot that like I just stayed drunk forever.
outside
it was
of
awesome.
outside of
but-
like spending time with like Honky and Mac, and doing that road trip with them, that was probably the worst sporting event experience I've ever had in my entire life. Like we stood up for the beginning of the game and we were like standing watching the game because we were right on the field.
Mhm.
And like Illinois fans are yelling at us to sit down. Like, and there's a football game going. It's the first game like post-COVID. Well, I won't say post-pandemic, but post-COVID. It's the first game. We're standing up. We're excited. We're like trying to like talk with these Illinois fans and everything, and they were just like, "Can you kids please sit down in front of us?" And then like and then like we go walking around the stadium probably around like the third quarter or so, and I'm sunburned and miserable and just like, oh my god, I forgot to put on suntan lotion and like there's like Husker fans like passed out in the literal rafters of like the thing. Like it was just crazy. Like and I'm just like walking around like this is so miserable. And I'm a Raiders fan, I'm an A's fan, I'm a Golden State Warriors fan, and I grew up with the Golden State Warriors being terrible, right? Like 13 wins a season and everything. So it's like, and now here I am like really getting into my Husker fandom, like after I moved to Colorado with Redcast Dave, and we're like in the Pelini era where, 10 wins a season, but they can't beat anybody that's good, right? So it's like, and now I'm just like, oh my God. So I'm used to it. I've been like groomed to be to be miserable my entire life as a sports fan. So, anytime you guys need to reach out and talk about it, just, feel free to like, DM me or something, or, jump on the show and just cry on my shoulder. Cause I am a hugger. I'm like Meg.
Yeah. And I'm
like we're in Hell Week or something. You're seasoned.
Yeah.
And I realize like I can't control what happens. So I'm just going to show up and support them till I die. I don't think I physically couldn't not be a Husker fan. So it's like, obviously, like it just really hasn't, it's obviously not fun. Like losing isn't fun. It's discouraging. But at the same time, like I just don't want to be that fan that entire week is ruined because of like a loss. Like I want to see the silver lining in it. I want to like still have a good time and like enjoy the rest of my Saturday, even if they lose. And if they win, great. But I will say, I mean, in general, like you just feel losses more than you feel wins. So it's definitely like discouraging, but I mean the wins, yeah. So
Oh, when we start winning, I'm gonna be the worst.
Well, they're going 15-0 this year.
I'm ready.
100%.
Maddie, living in Iowa City, I mean, do the losses hurt more, or when we get the wins, are you gonna pull a Meg on people?
So right when I moved here, I feel like I had absolutely no filter and was somewhat of that like annoying college fan that you just described. Like that was me. And then I'm like, even if we were winning, I don't want to be like that. And so I have somewhat, yeah.
Oh, I'll be like that.
Yeah. I say that, but who knows?
I will 100% be that person again someday.
Actually, my favorite, so during the OU game, there's a brewery out here, it's called Big Grove, and I was sitting there, only person with the Husker shirt on, was absolutely sweating bullets, stressed out of my mind. And there was an Iowa fan next to me, and like we just started talking, and he was like, like I'm actually like impressed at like how much like like knowledge you have just like on Nebraska in general. And I'm like, you know what? I could have just been an absolute jerk and super obnoxious and like, I just feel like I try and put more of like a filter on because like I am a Nebraska fan in Iowa City, and I don't want to be an obnoxious Nebraska fan in Iowa City or like an arrogant or Nebraska fan in Iowa City, because they're great people. And I mean, yeah, I don't like the Hawkeyes, but at the end of the day, I don't want to be a jerk either. So
I feel like I have a responsibility to Tom Osborne to be a good Husker fan and to make the Husker Nation proud. He's looking at me to do that. So
right, we're not the best fans in college sports for nothing.
And we can always find positive things to say about anyone. I have some very good Iowa fans, friends that are Iowa fans, and
shout out to Iowa Sean.
And Iowa Sean, there's others there too, but also I've said this publicly. The greatest tradition, the new tradition at least of college football, is the wave. And there's nothing better. And every university across the country that has a children's hospital and a football program is kicking themselves that they didn't build the hospital overlooking the football stadium, because that is an amazing tradition that they have there. And so I'll give kudos where kudos are due.
Yeah.